It's day one of the experiment, and I'm standing in line at a coffee shop. And instead of just tapping my card like a normal human being, I pull out my phone and I type it into a notes app. $6.40 for a coffee. And the guy behind the counter is looking at me like I just performed a magic trick. But I don't care, because I'd made a decision. For 30 days, I was going to track every single dollar I spent. Every coffee, every subscription, every "it's just $5, who cares" purchase. No exceptions. And look, I thought I already knew where my money went. I had a rough idea in my head. Rent, groceries, bills, done. That's what most of us assume, right? We think we understand our spending because we live inside it every day. But here's the thing. Living inside your spending and actually seeing your spending are two completely different experiences. And by the end of 30 days, I realized I didn't know myself financially nearly as well as I thought I did. My name is Jack, and if you've ever wondered where your paycheck actually goes, this video is going to walk you through exactly what happened when I tracked every dollar for 30 days straight. Make sure to hit subscribe because what I found is going to change how you look at your own spending. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't have a spending problem. They have an awareness problem. You don't need a finance degree to manage money well. You need visibility. And visibility is exactly what most of us are missing. Because spending today is designed to be invisible. Tap to pay, one-click checkout, subscriptions that renew silently in the background. The entire system is built so you never have to feel the money leave. Think about how different this used to be. If you paid for everything in cash, you'd physically watch your wallet get thinner. There was friction. There was a moment of hesitation. Today, that friction is gone entirely, and the companies designing these payment systems know exactly what they're doing. Less friction means more spending. It's not an accident. It's the business model. So here's how the experiment worked. Every purchase, no matter how small, got logged the moment it happened. Category, amount, and one word for how I felt when I bought it. Bored, stressed, hungry, happy. That last part turned out to be the most important detail of the whole month. Week 1 was humbling. I want to walk you through the numbers because they surprised me. I estimated I spent around $40 a week on food outside my apartment. The actual number was $97. Not because I was going to fancy restaurants. It was death by 1,000 small purchases. A $6 coffee here. A $14 lunch there. A late-night $22 delivery order because I didn't feel like cooking. None of those individually felt like a big deal. That's exactly the trap. Here's what most people don't realize. It's never the big purchases that wreck your budget. It's the small ones that happen so often you stop noticing them. By day 7, I had already found 3 subscriptions I completely forgot I was paying for. A streaming service I hadn't opened in 4 months. A fitness app I downloaded once and never touched again. And a free trial from 8 months ago that quietly turned into $14.99 a month forever. Combined, that was $38 a month, or $456 a year, for absolutely nothing. And here's the part that stings a little. I only found these because I was forced to write down literally everything. If I hadn't done this experiment, that $456 would have kept disappearing quietly, year after year, forever. Week 2 is where the emotional patterns started showing up, and this is the part that genuinely caught me off guard. Remember that one-word emotion tag I mentioned? When I went back and reviewed everything, over 60% of my non-essential purchases happened on days I logged as stressed or tired. Not happy. Not celebrating. Stressed. I wasn't spending because I wanted things. I was spending because I was trying to feel better, fast. And buying something is one of the quickest ways to get a small hit of relief. Psychologists actually have research on this. It's sometimes called emotional spending, and it works almost identically to stress eating. Your brain isn't thinking about your bank balance in that moment. It's thinking about right now. And right now wants comfort. Which means the real problem wasn't a lack of discipline. It was that I never had visibility into my own triggers until I was forced to write them down. Here's a specific example from my own log. Tuesday of week 2, I had a rough day at work. Nothing catastrophic, just one of those long, draining days. That evening, I made 3 separate purchases in the span of 2 hours. A $9 dessert I didn't need. A $24 impulse buy on an app I forgot even existed. And a $17 order of food despite having groceries at home. Total, $50 in one evening, purely because I was tired and stressed and wanted a small win. On a calm day earlier that same week, I spent nothing extra at all. Same person, same income, completely different behavior, all driven by emotional state. Let's talk numbers again, because this is where it gets really interesting. By the middle of the month, I had 3 clear categories. Needs, which was rent, utilities, groceries, transportation. Wants, which was dining out, entertainment, random online purchases. And what I started calling ghost spending, subscriptions and small recurring charges I'd completely stopped noticing. Needs came out to about 58% of my spending, totally reasonable. Wants came out to 31%, also not crazy on its own. But ghost spending, the stuff I wasn't even consciously choosing anymore, was 11%. That's over $300 a month leaving my account on autopilot without me making a single active decision about it. Here's the analogy that helped this click for me. Think of your bank account like a bathtub with a slow leak. You can be doing everything right. The water's flowing in fine, but if there's a small crack nobody's checking, you're still losing water every single day. You won't notice it in an afternoon. You'll notice it in a month, when the tub is somehow half empty and you have no idea why. And the scary part is, a slow leak is actually more dangerous than a big, obvious one, because a big leak gets fixed immediately. A slow leak just quietly drains you for years. Now you might be thinking, okay Jack, obviously canceling a few subscriptions helps, but does tracking every dollar actually change your bigger habits? That's the part I wasn't expecting. By week 3, something shifted, and it wasn't willpower. It was friction. Once I knew I had to write down every purchase, a $15 impulse buy suddenly required a small moment of thought. And that tiny pause, just a few seconds of, wait, let me log this, was enough to kill probably a third of my impulse spending entirely. Not because I banned myself from buying things, because I finally had to look at what I was doing in real time. This is actually backed by behavioral research too. Studies on spending friction consistently show that adding even a tiny delay or extra step before a purchase reduces impulse buying significantly, because impulse decisions rely on speed. The moment you slow down, even by a few seconds, your rational brain gets a chance to catch up with your emotional brain. Tracking every purchase accidentally built that delay into my entire month. Week 4, the final stretch, is when the full picture came together. Over 30 days, I spent $3,140 total. Before the experiment, if you'd asked me to guess, I would have said somewhere around $2,600. That's a $540 gap between what I believed and what was actually true. And that gap is exactly why so many people feel confused about their finances, even when they're not doing anything obviously wrong. You can't fix a leak you can't see. So let me give you the actual takeaways, because this wasn't just an interesting exercise, it changed 3 specific things going forward. First, I canceled the ghost subscriptions immediately. That's an easy $456 a year back, just from paying attention for a week. Second, I built what I'm calling the pause rule. Anything over $20 that isn't a planned purchase gets a 24-hour wait before I buy it. Not forever, just enough time to ask if I actually want it or if I'm just stressed. Third, and this one matters most, I stopped treating budgeting as a moral test and started treating it as information. When I overspent on takeout during a stressful week, that wasn't a failure. That was data. It told me stress was a spending trigger, and now I know to watch for it instead of being blindsided by it every single time. Fourth, I started doing a 5-minute weekly review instead of a full 30-day tracking marathon. You don't need to track forever to get the benefit. You just need enough data to see your own patterns clearly, and then a lighter system to keep yourself honest going forward. Let me tell you about a guy named Ryan, someone in my comments who tried this same challenge after I mentioned it a few months back. He assumed his biggest problem was groceries. Turned out groceries were fine. His actual leak was late-night online shopping, almost $280 a month in small impulse buys he made between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m., every single time he couldn't sleep. He never would have caught that pattern without tracking it day by day. Once he saw it written down, he didn't need a strict budget, he just needed a bedtime. 6 months later, he told me that one small change, going to bed earlier, saved him more money than any budgeting app ever had. That's what this whole experiment really proves. Most of us don't need more discipline, we need more awareness. Because you can't change a pattern you've never actually seen. So here's the challenge. Track every dollar you spend for the next 7 days. Not forever, just 1 week. Every purchase, and one word for how you felt buying it. I promise you, you will find at least one thing that surprises you. Maybe it's a forgotten subscription. Maybe it's a pattern tied to stress or boredom. Maybe it's just realizing your coffee habit is quietly worth $200 a month. Because here's the truth most people don't want to hear. It's not that you're bad with money, it's that you've never actually looked closely enough to know where it's going. And the moment you do, everything gets easier, not because your income changed, not because you suddenly have more discipline, but because you can finally see the leak. If this made you want to try tracking your own spending, hit subscribe, because I'll be doing an update video in a few months to see what's changed. And I'm curious, when's the last time you actually looked at everything you spent in a single week? Let me know in the comments. Because most people are one honest look away from understanding exactly where their money's been disappearing to.